So we tried to build in for Mrs. Smith as many risk management ideas. So we raised inflation by 2%. Normally we craft a model at 3%. So her model is built off of a 5% inflation. In addition to that, she's also ridiculously entrepreneurial. And so her being able to maximize a monetary rate of return is actually very, very feasible. Some of what she's interested in doing has to do with real estate, working with her family on things like that. This was one of the most powerful things.
This is BetterWealth with Caleb Williams. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode from the Frontlines with Jereme. And in the Smith edition, we are going through case studies from just all kinds of case studies showing you the impact that we have at BetterWealth, helping people take responsibility of their money so that they can unlock intentional living. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about something that has touched all of our hearts at BetterWealth and has really given us a wake-up call to say, listen, life is short. Life is short. And I hope that this not only inspires you, but it gets you to start thinking, and it revolves around a sudden death. And so with that, Jereme, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. This is becoming one of my favorite clients here at BetterWealth, and it's also one of the toughest because this particular Mrs. Smith reached out to us and wanted to go through the Unlimited platform. And through the course of getting scheduled for her initial clarity meeting, long story short is her husband passed away
between signing up for Unlimited and meeting with you for the first time.
So Mrs. Smith signed up for Unlimited, husband was diagnosed and passed away within weeks of the diagnosis. And we stayed in touch. She conveyed, hey, I've had this happen. I was totally taken aback.
And this person's in their early 60s. It's not like,
oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So I was taken aback, and we have a commitment to follow up. And so just very, as graciously as we could, followed up. And then Mrs. Smith, about a month and a half later, reached back out and said, hey, I'm going to need to continue this process. I'd like to continue this process on my own. And I went into this meeting really prepared. The great thing is that by using the model, we were able to show and assure and just provide this overwhelming sense of peace that I'm good, not just right now, but I'm good for a long, long time. And what was really amazing is that we were able to honor the memory of her spouse and what he had done and provided and continues to provide for her kids and her grandkids as a result of the life and the financial decisions that he made along the way. And it's very, very evident by looking at the data, the impact of his life on into future lives of his kids and grandkids. Cool. So this is a different episode because we're looking at the impact of a life that is no longer being lived on this earth, impacting, kids and grandkids. It's really precious to me to be able to model this in such a way that somebody can see it. So let me set the stage. Early, coming up on mid-60s, and what are the sources of income that we have? Well, we've got some Social Security, right, that has already been started. We also have a retirement. We have a retirement from the spouse. Okay, so we have three forms of income, right, that are in place at this point, and a smaller but intact business income as well. So we've got four streams of income. So this in and of itself is significant because we have multiple streams of income that are feeding this financial model. Yep. If it's just one, you're totally reliant on that one thing.
That's right.
So a takeaway from this is in a retirement income planning model, the more streams of income, in many cases, the more solid you're going to be. The other great thing about these is because they are tied to now her heartbeat, they're for life. Yeah. So this abides by the principle that cash flow is king, right? So we have lifetime cash flow on this model, which is really, really powerful.
That's powerful.
So first great thing about this is we were able to say, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what you're reporting. Is this the total gross income? And Mrs. Smith was like, yep, that's accurate.
Yep.
Okay. And to her credit, Mrs. Smith is diligent,
Hmm.
diligent in her grief in making sure that she is taking care of business.
Yep.
And I admire the heck out of her for this. And what was great was to be able to validate that with the model. So, debt free, right? This is another testament to the power of decisions made throughout the course of a life in order to set somebody up to have a very freeing and very purposeful retirement period. With regards to investments, this is profound, and I would say by no stretch of the imagination, like massive, right? We're not talking about a ton of money, but through a number of accounts, there's about $670,000. And some of this is going to be coming from the sale of a primary residence.
I see that. Okay.
And some of this is going to be coming from a life insurance death benefit distribution, okay, which comes tax-free. The thing that I learned about this, and I want to highlight this, Mrs. Smith and I had a long conversation, and this death benefit is coming from a federal employment death benefit. And ladies and gentlemen, I was floored. Apparently, this could take up to 90 to 120 days to get.
Yeah.
That is not the case with most life insurance, right? It's going to come much, much quicker.
Yep.
So if you are in a situation where maybe you have a life insurance distribution that could come from some sort of federal employment, I would definitely check into when and how, like the time frame that death benefit comes. Because consider this: if you have house payments, you have debts or liabilities, and it takes 90 to 120 days for a distribution to come. How are you going to?
Well, and
do that?
and let's also be honest here. Most people aren't on it immediately. Like it sounds like she's really on top of things, but sometimes it takes 30 days to even know. Like if you don't even have good tracking, you might not even know that there's that thing.
There is a death benefit.
You know, so it's definitely a need to work with somebody that helps you, has everything on the same page, because that's actually a huge problem too, is not even knowing that people had life insurance.
Absolutely. And we find life insurance policies, we find pensions, we find lots and lots of things through the course of our coaching. So that being said, again, this is a testament to how they were, how this couple lived their lives and the legacy that they're able to have as a result of this. Let's see here. And currently, we determined, and again, I love working with Mrs. Smith because she was able to say, I know exactly what I'm going to live off of, and this is what I want to put away for this purpose.
That's cool.
Very well. The thing that she didn't have is a model to see if it was going to work.
Yeah.
Right. So we just took the numbers that she had come up with. We plugged them into the model and said, will this work given the operating environment? So from there, we look at real estate. Really great story here. So value of real estate is way up. And what she is able to walk away from with the sale of real estate, actually consolidate, have a basis of operations. I would say in this meeting, we spent 40 minutes getting real clear on what she wanted.
Wow.
And as a result of having some real clarity on what she wanted, now this is interesting. Clarity on what Mrs. Smith wanted was the ability to go through the grieving process very successfully and be set to continue to impact her family, her grandkids, and the missions and purposes that she's most interested in. As a matter of fact, she even said, I want to do some speaking on these things. I want to work in these particular charities and in these particular missions. Honestly, I was totally blown away. Totally blown away. So there's one primary residence that's going to be sold. There's going to be a relatively significant amount of money coming to her from that. With regards to insurance, we already talked about a death benefit. Really neat thing here is that Mrs. Smith has some convertible term life insurance already in place for herself, which is amazing. We were able to check on the convertibility to see if this could be a permanent benefit for her. And again, a testament to her spouse. She's got medical and dental that are basically I won't say taken care of, but very, very cost efficient. Moving forward. So that moves us on out to
my favorite tab,
to Caleb's favorite tab, which is called it's life events, but this is life. This is intentional living tab is really how we should reterm it. And we logged a bunch of intentionality here. Mrs. Smith has a huge passion to invest in the lives of her family. She wants to be very, very present. And as a result of that, we were able to put some line items in there that allow her to test and see if what she wants to do can be accomplished with what she has.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, after we put all of those things in and
cool.
craft a financial life that she wants to live all the way out to age 100, Caleb's laughing because you can see the ups and downs as far as
But that's because you're modeling.
We're modeling life events.
You modeled $30,000 intentional living, which I would just love to be a fly on the wall and with that. But it was like, that's cool. It's like, and you can see that this is all over the place.
Yeah, we have a $120,000 intentional living event. We have a $30,000 per year for 3 years intentional living event.
Yeah,
like there's some really cool things here. So what we do then is we see, do we have balance? And the answer is that with the maximum amount of life events and with a 5% inflation as opposed to a 3%,
which is wow. And that was, she wanted that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So we tried to build in for Mrs. Smith as many risk management ideas. So we raised inflation by 2%. Normally we craft a model at 3%. So her model is built off of a 5% inflation. In addition to that, she's also ridiculously entrepreneurial. And so her being able to maximize a monetary rate of return is actually very, very feasible. Some of what she's interested in doing has to do with real estate, working with her family on things like that. This was one of the most powerful things. When we looked at the model, we instituted all of the things that she wanted, and then we're able to click on the button and see balance happen. The weight that came off of Mrs. Smith was remarkable because in her head, she's like, I think this will work, but there was no way to test and vet it.
Yeah.
And so,
and I just want to point out, this is with 5%, with not including any other income, which it's very, very likely that Mrs. Smith will make more money and things won't exactly look like this. We're able to show her with what's currently going on, 97 years. There's a world where that person, Mrs. Smith, doesn't even live to 97. Absolutely. Maybe. My hope is she does.
I have every belief that she will after my conversation.
But the point is that does create a lot of just peace, knowing that like we're being conservative in every level. And
so the epiphany happened here for Mrs. Smith. So all the weight comes off, and she looks at me and she said, Jereme, I'm not working in this model, am I? And I'm like, nope, this is with just what's available right now coming to you, lifetime cash flow through the different means. And then to see the weight come off again and followed by immediate excitement. Her gifts, talents, and abilities are huge. And I think her creating another $50,000 to $60,000 a year and having fun doing it is not only likely, but probable.
Yep. Have you guys talked about strategy yet, or is that going to be in the future?
We've exchanged some emails with regards to strategy on how to make this happen. But here's the thing. This is more important. And she specifically said, I am going to grieve effectively. And so giving her permission, she doesn't need permission from me, but the model mathematically gives her permission to go, I'm not only good for a year or two, I'm good all the way out to 97.
There's something to say that not making a financial decision in the next year is not going to be the worst. And now we gave her permission to not have to worry.
Yep.
And even you and I both know as I look at certain things, there's ways that it can be more efficient, results can get better, but in the grand scheme of things, 1 year is not going to make a crazy difference. And in this time, like you have to do what's most important, which is take the time to grieve properly.
Absolutely. And the decisions that Mrs. Smith does want to make in the next couple years are already very intentional decisions. And to take accountability of what those mean monetarily long-term is just furthering the intentionality that she's instituting.
At BetterWealth, our mission is to unlock intentional living that looks different for each person. The reason why we're on YouTube and sharing different examples is we want, if we can help one person take a step back and say, oh, maybe I should start rethinking my thinking so that I could show up more intentional, and that looks different for each person. If that's someone that you want to learn more, if you want to learn more about Unlimited and what we do, you can go to our website, betterwealth.com. If you're enjoying this content, We love people sharing our content by liking this video, by leaving a comment, because the algorithm is a weird thing, but it's just it sees engagement and it rewards people like ourselves who are making this video. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Mrs. Smith, if you're listening to this, and that we're in the Mrs. Smith edition, the Smith family edition. So everyone that we're talking about is a Smith family, but know that from the moment we heard of the news, pre-death, is we were praying for you and you are in our prayers. And we are so excited to see your story continue to inspire other people. And the future is very, very bright, and yet we grieve your loss.
That's all I have to say about that.
Go out and live an intentional day. Thank you so much for listening to the BetterWealth podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could hit subscribe, leave a review, and share this with the people that you know and love.